On a bitterly cold October night, the streets were unusually quiet, the wind howling as if it wanted to chase away the few souls still lingering outside. Jacob, a single father in his mid-30s, pulled his jacket tighter as he hurried home after his late shift. His son, Noah, just 8 years old, would already be asleep, waiting for his father's return. But fate had its way of interrupting even the most ordinary nights. To the corner near the bus stop, Jacob noticed something unusual. A figure slumped in a wheelchair, wrapped in a thin blanket that did little against the piercing cold. At first, he thought the person might be waiting for a bus, but the hour was too late, and the last one had passed long ago. He slowed his steps, concern stirring in his chest. As he drew closer, he saw her, frail, shivering, her hair tangled, her eyes filled with exhaustion. The girl looked barely older than 20. She had the pale look of someone who had endured more than her share of hardship. A small bag sat on her lap, her only possession. She looked up at him when his shadow fell across her. Their eyes met, and Jacob felt a strange ache in his chest. She looked both scared and defeated, as though the world had long stopped being kind to her. "Are you all right?" he asked gently. Her lips trembled before she spoke. I just need a place to get warm. The shelters are full. I'll be fine here." But Jacob knew she wouldn't be fine. The night was too cold, and she was clearly too fragile to endure it. He thought of his son, safe under blankets, and then he looked back at her, alone, broken, and freezing in a wheelchair at a bus stop no one else cared to notice. Something inside him refused to walk away. He took a deep breath and softly said the 3 words that would change everything. "Come with me." She blinked, startled. I don't even know you." "I'm Jacob," he said, kneeling a little so she wouldn't have to crane her neck. "I'm a single dad. I have a son at home. We don't have much, but we have warmth, food, and a roof. Please, just for tonight." Her hands trembled, not just from the cold, but from the fear of trusting a stranger. Yet, there was something in his voice, something steady and kind that made her want to believe him. With hesitation, she whispered, "I'm Ella." Jacob smiled faintly. "Nice to meet you, Ella. Let's get you out of this cold." He pushed her chair along the empty streets, and for the first time in a long time, Ella felt the strange warmth of being cared for. When they reached Jacob's modest apartment, the first thing he did was make sure she had a blanket and a hot drink. Noah, awoken by the sound of the door, came out rubbing his sleepy eyes. When he saw Ella, his curiosity lit up. "Daddy, who is she?" Jacob ruffled his son's hair. "This is Ella. She's staying with us tonight because it's too cold outside." Noah looked at her wheelchair, then back at her face. Instead of asking questions, he simply smiled and said, "You can have my blanket. It's the warmest." He darted off before Jacob could stop him, returning with his favorite blanket, a faded blue one he refused to sleep without. Ella's eyes filled with tears as she accepted it. She hadn't known kindness like this in years. One night became 2, then 3. Jacob discovered Ella had been on her own ever since her accident, abandoned by people she thought would never leave her. With no money, no family, and nowhere to turn, the bus stop had been her last refuge. But in Jacob's home, she found something unexpected: safety, warmth, and little by little, belonging. Noah grew attached to her quickly, always wheeling her around the apartment, telling her about his day at school, making her laugh with his innocent jokes. Jacob, too, found himself drawn to the quiet strength behind her brokenness. Ella was fragile, yes, but there was also a resilience in her, an unspoken determination to survive, even when life had stripped away so much. As weeks passed, what started as temporary shelter turned into something deeper. Jacob helped Ella apply for programs that could support her needs. He repaired her wheelchair, cooked her favorite meals once he figured out what she liked, and made sure she knew she was never a burden. Ella, in return, gave something neither Jacob nor Noah had realized they were missing: an unshakable presence, a gentle heart that turned their small apartment into a true home. On cold nights, they'd sit together, Jacob on the couch, Ella nearby, Noah curled up with his head on her lap, fast asleep. In those moments, Ella no longer felt like an outsider looking in. For the first time in years, she felt like family. Jacob would often catch her smiling softly, as though she still couldn't believe she'd found this. And every time, he'd think back to that night at the bus stop, To those three simple words he almost hadn't spoken, "Come with me." It amazed him how such small moments could alter entire lives. Ella had thought she was just a burden waiting to fade into the background. Jacob had thought his life was only about working hard and raising his son. But together, they discovered something extraordinary. That sometimes, the most broken people come together and build something stronger than they ever imagined. Not by blood, not by obligation, but by love, the kind of love born from kindness, trust, and second chances. And so, what began as one night of shelter became a journey of healing, hope, and an unexpected family. A family built not from perfection, but from the courage to care when it mattered most.